Good evening, Mr. Stern. Can you see the screen?
Sure.
Okay. I believe we're ready to begin when you are, sir.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to
to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the special meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. Roll call, Ms. Pertinio, please.
Ms. Joy Beers,
Present.
Mr. Richard Belts, Mr. Richard Belts, absent. Mr. David Bradley,
I'm here. It looks like Rusty's here on the screen. Maybe you should try that one more time.
Mr. Belts, are you here? Mr. Nathan Fuller,
Present.
Mr. Stephen Holland,
Here.
Mrs. Gail Mahalik, Mrs. Gail Mahalik, absent. Mrs. Rita Spinelli,
Here,
Mr. Wayne Wentz,
Here.
Mr. Larry Stern.
Here.
Thank you.
Advance the agenda, please. Do we have any public comment on agenda that have been sent in, Mr. Cleaver, or Ms. Pertinio?
I did not receive any.
Thank you. And we'll move on to financial matters. I need a motion and a second to approve the payment of bills for February 21st. General fund, debit card, payroll, food service fund for $2,721,822.21. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved. Dave Bradley.
second, Rita.
So I have a motion by Mr. Bradley, a second by Ms. Melly. Any comments from the board on the payment of bills?
I do have a comment, Mr. Stern. I have a statement that I'd like to read here. Today, I went into the admin office to look at the bills along with Mr. Bradley and Mr. Belts. In my 50 years of employment, 67 years of dealing with friends, family, and acquaintances, as well as casual meetings and business dealings, I have never experienced the dismissive, misogynistic behavior from someone that I saw today from Mr. Bradley. It wasn't the typical meeting rhetoric that I've become used to over the last 3 years. I was cut off, ignored, spoken over, and criticized at every turn. If he asked me a question, he would cut me off before I could answer. If I tried to explain something, he told me I was wrong before I even finished. At one point, he pulled something out of my hand that I was looking at. I am a board member with the same authority and duties as he. I have skills, experience, and something to contribute to this board and community. I resent the treatment I received, and I don't expect to happen again to any other woman in this district. He may be my equal in position, but he is my subordinate in behavior and preparedness, as he made it clear to me today that he does not read his information packet for board meetings. He has already started backpedaling on this, but I now know why no female employees would meet with him and why complaints were made over his treatment of them, resulting in his sanctions by this board. His attitude has no place in running a school board in 2021. Thank you.
Any other comments by any board member?
I have one.
Proceed.
I appreciate from the administration the ability to review the documents prior to authorizing their payment. part of the review process is not only to ensure that the bills are proper, but that school orders are proper. That's part of our responsibility as a board. The fact that we have not done that as a board and that this became an event of some sort is a little bit ridiculous, but we understand we're moving forward and it is fantastic. As pertaining to Rita Spinelli and her little speech, we recognize that she said the only reason she was there is to oversee and watch us, which is fine. We have a responsibility, and my lack of attention to her rhetoric apparently is hurting her feelings, and for that, that's not within my control. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I really do. We learned a lot. We got a lot of information. There's a lot more progress to be made. There's a lot more documentation that needs to take place. There's a lot more opportunity to make savings. We reviewed the bills. We found many things that were requiring board oversight, additional questions, additional information. And as such, we look forward to doing this again next month, and hopefully in an earlier fashion or throughout the month, so that we do not have to do it as a rush or a special meeting. Thank you. And I appreciate Gail's attention to this matter, and Rusty's, and anyone else that showed up to review the bills. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, roll call vote. Ms. Pertinio, please.
Mr. Stephen Holland,
Yes.
Mrs. Gail Mahalik. Absent. Mrs. Rita Spinelli,
Yes.
Mr. Wayne Wentz,
Yes.
Miss Joy Beers,
No.
Mr. Richard Belts, absent. Mr. David Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. Nathan Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Larry Stern.
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no, motion carries.
Thank you, Ms. Pertinio. On to motion item B. I need a motion and a second to approve the Conrad Siegel for the Lehighton Area School District GASB 75 valuation services in the amount of $7,225, enclosure number 9, performed annually as per the enclosure. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved, Wayne. Second by
Second.
Nathan.
First by Mr. Wentz, the second by Mr. Fuller. Any comments from the board on this particular item? I do have one. Thank you, Mr. Eric, for clearing up the discrepancy pointed out Monday night concerning the effectiveness or the effective date of the contract. And it is effective the beginning of the 2020 school year. So I appreciate that clarification in your email. Thank you. Any other comments?
I have my hand raised.
Yes, Mr. Bradley.
This is an expenditure of upwards of $7,000. I believe this might have to be bid out. I'd like our solicitor to opine on that responsibility, to have these services, which are outside of the school district's offering, and we're inviting in an external contractor to perform work within the district, and our responsibility not only to bid it out, but to hold a special hearing regarding the release of such a contract to outside parties, referring to Pennsylvania school code. Thank you.
We can get that clarification for you later, Mr. Bradley, but I believe that anything under the $10,000 limit does not need to be bid out, especially because it's a service at this point in time. So we can get that clarification from council at a later date. Any other comments?
Well, one of the bills that we reviewed was for the nutrition group. That was a contract that was let out last year for over $80,000, Larry. If you happen to know, and I appreciate that you know that it's a $10,000 limit, if this is only expected to stay at that $7,000 number, I find that to be unique that they put that value on it, given the cost and the actuarial consultant fees and things like that, I think it'll exceed that. I'd be surprised if it didn't in years past. We should get that information as well. But how do we release the nutrition bill? That's $80,000 of external. Larry, if there's a $10,000 limit.
That is, the nutrition contract is through food service. That's actually a federal program, and that actually is audited and required to be bid out. And several years, every so many years, that needs to be bid, even though it is a contracted service. That is something that is guided by the state and federal law.
And during that bid process, I believe also a special meeting specific to that process is required by the board to allow public comment and allow the public to present information for that bid. Apparently, that was
The bids are,
year.
I'm sorry, Mr. Browdy, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it was released in 2019. I was on the board at the time. I do not remember any special meeting related to the nutrition. Maybe someone else on the board can remember that.
They are public bid meetings to where the bid process is open. It's a public meeting and anyone could attend.
It was at a special board meeting, or we did it at a board
No,
meeting?
it's the bid doc. When the bid is out and posted, there'll be a time listed when those bids are open. And those are public meetings. So at that time, anyone from the public, many times when there's bids of variety and they're public openings, you'll have different groups who have put a bid in or a proposal in will attend those meetings. But they are public meetings and they are posted as part of the public bidding notice. But it's not considered a board meeting.
But it's not a board meeting, but it doesn't require a quorum of board members?
No, it does not.
Is that correct, Mr. Filer? Do you know? Mr. Filer, do you know? Mr. Filer, you're in this meeting, you're attending, correct?
Mr. Bradley, we've jumped from the GASB issue to
I
food
understand,
service
but it's
now,
a question.
and You
Well,
can
part
get
of
that
this GASB,
clarification
'cause
at a
you have-
later date. The GASB issue is what's up for
And the
motion at
GASB
this
issue
point
is
in
a
time.
$7,000.
You're gonna bring in now food service, and you're gonna extend it to some other practice or some other process that is inappropriate at this point in time.
No,
If
no,
you have
sir.
questions on the
We're
GASB
asking a
part,
question
then
basic because
ask
of
the
this.
question on the GASB. You don't have to ask the question on the food service bill.
Well, either way, this
The
GASB,
situation on the food service bill, because it came out in email today, and now you're starting to do things like you did Monday night where it is inappropriate. There's nothing that has been done incorrectly, and you continue to think that the district is being run not in a proper fashion, and you have not found anything to prove that fact. So please keep your motions and keep your discussions to the motion on the floor and not extenuating circumstances to other items that you don't have the background on, or the board, the administration has not had the opportunity to gather up the information that you have requested, and you are trying to blow it up just like you did on Monday night. So we would appreciate if you keep your focus on item B and continue and work on that item so we can close out this meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Filer,
Mr. Stern.
Mr. Browdy, Mr.
First of
Filer.
all, hold on, Mr. Stern. am talking about the GASB. We're confirming whether or not the value of it is accurate and whether or not the years past met that what you just described tonight as a $10,000 limit. Do we know if this was $10,000 limit last time? And as far as the email for the food service, I'm the one that requested it, so I'm glad that the administration provided it to us so that we can review it, because I did see that one was extensive in cost. So maybe Mr. Rarick can identify, was this limited to only $7,000, or was it more than $10,000 last year? That would be a pertinent piece of information to know.
Last year it was exactly as posted on the board motion, $7,225, which is what's in the contract.
Thank you for that information. Excellent. As far as
You're welcome.
Mr. Filer's on, I believe Mr. Filer's in this meeting. If he is not, we should identify that, because we did ask a question of him. He should be able to answer it to a board member. And at the same time, since he's participating in this meeting and getting paid to participate, that information would be valuable. Thank you.
can you hear me? I've tried 3 times, but every time Brad cuts me off.
I'm sorry, Mr. Filer.
Yeah,
You're
Mr.
completely
Filer?
garbled.
I have to check what the value amount is, but if it's under a certain threshold, you don't have to bid out. And I don't know that off the top of my head. And I've told you multiple times, Mr. Bradley, if you had any questions, just make them beforehand, and you never do.
Mr.
As
Rare,
to
I believe the threshold for quotes and threshold for bids are two different numbers that have gone up. I'm not sure that you have it in front of you, the value for bids and the value for quotes.
I believe bids is 10,900.
Was this GASB quoted to any other parties? Did we have an RFQ for this expenditure? Can you hear me? I'm asking whether or not this was quoted to any other parties, and did we have an RFP or RFQ related to these services? Did the administration host an RFP or an RFQ for these services?
Yes, there was an RFP and actually information was for, are you talking for the food service or are you talking for the GASB program?
No, sir. We're only talking GASB, right? Larry truncated any conversation related to other matters, which is fine. So we're just talking GASB. And the question is, did the administration provide any other quotes or an RFP or an RFQ for these services that we're letting out that are about $7,000?
No, we have not.
Why did we not look for a second option?
They have, I believe they've been doing the district for several years, and it's part of our auditing process as well. If I correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Eric.
You're correct.
So this was not, there was nothing that was sent out as far an RFP or looking for any type of quotes for this, no.
Those are the exact dogmatic practices that I think we need to refine. After reviewing all these bills, I believe that that rut is one of the reasons why this board and the Auditor General's report was chastised. Thank you.
Any other
I just
comments?
wanted to clarify too, the current number that is effective January 1st, 2017, purchases of more than $10,700, but less than $19,700 require 3 quotes, and purchases of over $19,700 or more must be publicly bid. However, selective services and professional services does not fall under those guidelines.
Thank you, Mr. Cleaver. Since there are no other comments from the board, I will request a roll call vote. Ms. Bertinio, please.
Mrs. Rita Spinelli,
Yes.
Mr. Wayne Wentz,
Yes.
Miss Joy Beers,
No.
Mr. Richard Belt,
Yes.
Mr. David Bradley,
No.
Mr. Nathan Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Holland,
Yes.
Mrs. Gail Mahalik, absent, Mr. Larry Stern.
Yes.
6 yes, 2 no, motion carries.
Any courtesy of the floor, Mr. Cleaver?
Yes, we have someone requested comment. Ms. Bose?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the food service, the nutrition group, was put out as an RFP. I believe.
Yes, there's proposals that are put out. They are proposals because you're not required to take, because there's a different bidding process and guidelines
Right.
for those. You are correct.
But I do remember that there was an RFP put out.
Yep.
I don't remember if anyone else responded.
They did not.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was only the nutrition group. Thank you.
No other comments, Mr. Stern?
Thank you, Mr. Cleaver. At this time, I'll take a motion and a second to adjourn.
Well, prior to that, let's try to come to some sort of an agreement that this process was beneficial to allow the Board of School Directors to review bills prior to their release for payment, and also to make sure that all the bills that we're reviewing are legible by the board as a whole. Are we going to allow that to occur again? And can I make a motion to allow that to happen, let's say on the 10th and the 20th of the month, or a day or two around those days, so that we can effectively provide the proper oversight of bill payment without having to do a special meeting?
The only business is what's on the agenda, Mr. Brown.
I understand that.
No other business to be conducted.
I understand that. This is basically, we're looking at a process for this board to make sure that this can occur.
Again, no other business was to be conducted.
The way you
I
guys
make a
advertise these
motion
meetings
to
is really
adjourn.
bad. You
I
know?
second the
You're
motion to adjourn.
You're basically just silencing the public.
No, we're not. We're
You
following.
are you going to do it or not next
have a
month? Are we
motion
going to do
and
the
a
10th and the
second.
12th? Are you going to do the 10th and the 20th?
I need a roll call vote to adjourn the meeting.
You can just do it like you do at the policy meeting, Larry. You can just shut it down. But I'd really like to.
Mrs. Rita
I
Spinelli,
think we should do it.
Yes.
I think we should do the 10th
Mr.
and
Wayne
the 20th.
Wentz,
Yes.
Ms. Joy Beers,
No.
Mr. Richard Belts,
No.
Mr. David Bradley,
No, I think we should have an agreement here, what we're going to do.
Mr. Nathan Fuller,
Yes.
Mr. Stephen Holland,
Yes.
Mrs. Gail Mahalik. Absent, Mr. Larry Stern.
Yes.
5 yes, 3 no, motion carries.
Thank you all for attending. The meeting is adjourned at 7:24 p.m. Have a wonderful evening and a happy spring holiday. Bye.